To understand the true cause of reality, we must comprehend what our world is composed of. We know that the universe contains matter, which we initially thought was made up of atoms. However, it was later revealed that when these atoms collide, subatomic particles are born, such as protons, neutrons, and electrons. Furthermore, we have discovered that even they are composed of even smaller fundamental particles known as quarks and leptons. Thus, we believe that these are the tiniest building blocks of reality. The challenge, however, lies in their minuscule size, rendering them invisible to the naked eye. Even electromagnetic waves are too large to reflect off elementary particles, which complicates the description of their properties and behavior. Nonetheless, we know that such small particles exist, even though we cannot see them without specialized detectors. In order to explain the behavior of these fundamental particles, scientists devised a theory that describes particles as points in space. This helped us identify them, predict, and calculate their properties with fairly high precision. For example, scientists were able to measure the key quantum properties of the electron. Furthermore, physicists created a map of the universe that has advanced science and led to the development of technologies we use today. However, while we may have a reasonably good understanding of the universe, there are certain aspects of modern physics that contradict each other. For instance, how many more dimensions does our universe conceal? Is there something smaller than quarks and leptons? And can the universe be deterministic? For instance, if you decided to watch this video, you did so of your own free will, but you did it without realizing that your decision was an illusion. Whether this is true or not, it's another hypothesis of determinism that you may have not heard of or, if you have, know very little about. The main assertion of this hypothesis can be summarized approximately as follows: free will does not exist. And this may apply to small decisions in our everyday lives, but it may also apply to all processes occurring in the universe. Here, one could argue that everything is preordained, and coincidences are excluded. But what is the history of this hypothesis? Can its claims be scientifically substantiated? Fate, destiny, preordainment. What has led you to be where you are today? Why do you live in this city? Why do you live the way you do and engage in the activities you pursue? Have you always foreseen the twists and turns in your life? Some believe in fate, attributing everything that happens in their life to the actions of this supposed fate, which is thought to determine the course of life. Others believe in divine or occult providence. However, some biologists claim that approximately 90% of our thinking and decision-making occurs unconsciously. Researchers also argue that, unfortunately, some impending decisions carry unpleasant potential and deprive us of sleep. We toss and turn at night, contemplating and weighing one option against another. But according to determinism, the agony of choice holds no significance, regardless of what you ultimately decide to do. Your decision was predetermined from the very beginning. The general theory of relativity effectively describes things on a very large scale, while quantum mechanics gives us insight into the workings of the world on a tiny scale. However, these two theories poorly coexist and often contradict each other. Albert Einstein succeeded in unifying space-time and gravity but fell short of unifying all the forces of nature into a single framework. Unlike other forces in the universe, gravity is too weak to be detected or observed at the scale of elementary particles. However, some physicists have had the idea of what such a particle, called a graviton, should look like. But as soon as scientists attempted to predict what happens when gravitons collide, they encountered an infinite amount of energy packed into a very small space. This implies that mathematics lacks something we still don't know. To extract answers from certain quantum mechanical phenomena, researchers incorporate the concept of indeterminism. This definition asserts that not all events are unequivocally determined by antecedents. In fact, many events in quantum mechanics are considered random because they cannot be decoded even with unknown variables. This was once sharply criticized by Albert Einstein himself. If we strictly adhere to a physics-based explanation, some events in quantum mechanics are incomplete. This implies that there must be hidden variables that are superdeterministic. This is where Einstein's expression, "God does not play dice," comes into play. Locality or non-locality. These questions have always divided scientists into two camps. Locality is based on the assumption that processes can only affect their immediate spatial environment. However, non-locality in quantum mechanics is quite different, as events there can set in motion entirely different processes. Irish physicist John Bell made headlines when he deciphered the mystery of non-locality. According to this fundamental secret, the world must be superdeterministic, and this higher determinism applies not only to individual humans but to the entire universe. I must disappoint all fans of various magic and mysticism. No supernatural forces are involved here. Everything is preordained quite tangibly and in accordance with the laws of nature. In an attempt to reconcile both of these ideas and create a theory of everything, string theory was born. This theory suggests that a particle is not a point-like object but rather resembles a one-dimensional strand of energy or a string smaller in size than an electron or a quark. However, like the objects we see, it can move left or right, up, down, forward, or backward. These strings can move in at least 10 different ways and can be open or closed. Some physicists believe that the way these strings move determines the attributes of everything in the universe. This allows us to conclude that determinism does not equate to the absence of free will. It can be said that quantum mechanics faces a problem that cannot be underestimated. Physicists say that only the probability of quantum measurements can be predicted, but the results of these measurements cannot be predicted. However, the theory of superdeterminism can eliminate this randomness of quantum mechanics. To do this, one must return to hidden variables at a moment when the results of measurements are not definite due to a lack of information. This means that quantum mechanics is also deterministic. However, there is an idea that hidden variables not only exist but also falsify measurement results. These hidden variables also have a direct influence on the outcomes of experiments. While scientists claim that they choose their own results during a series of experiments, the course of these experiments will primarily be dictated by hidden variables. Physicist Sabine Hossenfelder also takes a clear position in this scientific dispute. According to her, free will is nothing more than quoting logical incoherent nonsense. This expert aligns herself directly with Albert Einstein himself. It should be noted that the world-renowned genius had significant problems with the idea of free will. Rather, Einstein envisioned a principle where specific causes must always have specific non-random effects. Despite all the arguments listed in favor of superdeterminism, this theory lacks something to gain universal acceptance. It sometimes even seems that researchers have reached an impasse because the entire universe is deterministic. But then, quantum mechanics must also be deterministic. This theory only asserts that these changes exist and have a direct impact on every decision ever made, as well as on every decision that will be made in the future. Consequently, superdeterminism determines not only every physical law but also our ordinary everyday lives. But what then is in these factors that cannot be explained by physics? How can human desires or individual moral concepts be reconciled with superdeterminism? The conclusion, perhaps, is that everything is physics. You are composed of particles that originated in space. Calcium in your bones, iron in your blood, nitrogen in your DNA, oxygen in your lungs. All of this is directly related to stars and the processes occurring in space. And the assertion that space lacks determinism simply doesn't make sense. Everything is preordained from the tiniest fundamental particles that make up your being to the vast stars and galaxies. All your ups and downs, all the joys and sorrows that have already occurred in your life and those that will, all of it is inevitable. It's akin to Murphy's Law. Physicists can indeed register changes through measurements, but things like love, beauty, values, fears, and hatred cannot be explained at the physical level. And we should not dismiss all these feelings and individual perspectives as insignificant because they are individual factors. For example, emotions like love and hatred can set in motion certain collective decisions and permanently change the course of our world. A cursory look at history books shows that ideals of beauty, value systems, and notions of justice are also subject to constant change. What was considered attractive yesterday may go unnoticed today. All of this is tied to shifting values and norms in society. What do you think about the key moments of determinism in the universe? Do you believe that all processes in the universe, and thus our everyday lives, are predetermined in advance? Or do we, against all odds, possess free will? Write your thoughts in the comments. Perhaps they will be interesting to many and may even help someone find like-minded individuals. That's all from me for today. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Until our next, even more interesting meeting.